I'm Gretchen,
I'm Corey.
and we're two girls in Jesus. We are here to just dig into wherever the Lord takes us today. We don't really have a plan, but it's His plan, so we're just going to follow where He leads us today.
Yeah. So how was your fourth?
Pretty chill, pretty. I didn't feel real good. Had a sore throat. So I just stayed home with my dogs, which my dogs enjoyed because my pit bull freaks out at fireworks. So,
Oh yeah.
he only buried his face in the couch once.
Well, that's progress.
Yeah. Normally he runs and hides.
Yeah.
But he did pretty good this year, I guess. I mean, he's 108 pounds burying his head in a couch because he hears, fireworks outside. It's hilarious to me.
Well, we had, as you know, our one of our girl group friends came
Yep.
down and her husband came. And we went to the beach and then we ate some food and we went and listened to some live music, saw some fireworks. So it was a fun time and it wasn't crazy busy, so that was nice, but it was just a good change of pace.
Yeah, I'm so glad that she was able to come. And I'm glad y'all had a good time.
Well, you'll be here soon.
I can't wait.
That means
Uh,
we get to record together.
right. Yeah. And we had fun doing that. We were funny doing that.
Well, the first time around when the lights kept going out,
I know those. I still
we
watch. I go back and watch that video because it just makes me laugh.
had a lot of technical difficulties,
Yeah.
but
Yes, we did. Yes, we
but
did.
it all worked out. We just re-recorded because
Yep.
sometimes that's what you have to do.
Yep. Sometimes that's just what you have to do. Which leads me to one of the things that I felt like God wanted me to talk about.
Okay.
And I discussed this on our Facebook page, but it's, life's interruptions because that light was interrupting us. Boy, that first time it happened, I was on a roll talking about something. The lights went out and we were like,
You know what
and
happened.
right. And then we get back into our groove and bam, it happened again. Um, and there's different kinds of interruptions, right?
Yeah.
you know, Little kids just not knowing not to interrupt yet. I'm sure you have heard it 4,000 times, and the same way I have. Don't interrupt when adults are talking. Um, and sometimes interruptions are silly or frivolous. Sometimes we have interruptions that are, emergencies. I remember one time when Luke was like 3, I was in the shower and he came in there and he came in the bathroom and he was telling me something, and I would thought he was telling me that there was a spider somewhere. And I was like, because he couldn't pronounce he had a speech impediment. He couldn't pronounce his R's real well. If there was an R involved, you couldn't really understand what he was saying. And I had the radio on and the showers going, and I thought he was telling me something about a spider. And I'm looking around, I don't see a spider. And I said, okay. I said, don't go near it. He was like, Mama, call 911. And I'm like, not for a spider. He said, no, Mama, a fire. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I jump out of the shower. I've got soap in my hair, soap all over me, grab a towel, running through the house, and I had a candle burning, and it was sitting on the sofa table, which was behind the sofa. And there was a box of Kleenex, and the ceiling fan was on. And I guess the ceiling fan had blown the Kleenex like over the candle, and the Kleenex caught on fire, and the back of the couch was on fire.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, God, so much that he came and interrupted my shower, because that could have been very, very
Yeah.
bad.
Good interruption.
Exactly. And I understand that, and that's good. So I can't remember what happened that got me thinking about this, but I started thinking about, okay, well, how did Jesus ever get interrupted? How did Jesus handle it? Because that's what I'm trying to emulate, just to be as much like Jesus as I possibly can. And so I started reading through the Gospels and I'm like, good gracious, Jesus got interrupted a lot, you know? And interruptions typically are upsetting. That's why they're called interruptions. You're interrupting my life, you're interrupting my conversation, you know? But so I found a lot of examples in the Gospels, and I went back to Old Testament because I always try to find something that correlates Old Testament and New Testament. And Abram, he was the one that said, pack up your whole life and go to the land I'm going to show you. Like, I just want you to pack up and go. And I'm not even telling you where you're going yet. Just pick up and go. That was a huge interruption. How did Abram handle that? He picked up and he went, you know. Um, the disciples, Jesus's disciples, all 12 of them were actively working when Jesus said, stop what you're doing and follow me. They were all working. That's an interruption, you know. So, I went through, all of these things, and then I got to the what I think is the biggest interruption of all, and that's Mary. She was interrupted. Gabriel comes and tells her, "I know, you don't, you've never done what is required to have a baby, but the Holy Spirit's gonna come upon you, and you're gonna have a baby." And she didn't run away and she didn't hide from it. She just said, "Okay, I trust you." You know, I mean, kids, even when you're planning on them and you want to have them, are interruptions. They're not bad interruptions, of course, but it's still an interruption. It changes your life, And I was like, man, I wish that in life's interruptions, I could just go with the flow, you know, just like Jesus did. Jesus, there was one time he wanted to go off and pray by himself, but there were so many people that needed healing, he couldn't get away from them, you know? Um, and so I'm that person, and that because I don't typically handle interruption well, I have tunnel vision. I have tunnel hearing. So when I'm out in public, there's a goal. I know where I'm going and I go to get there. I'm aware of my surroundings, but I'm not seeing people around me, you know, and I'm tuning what's going on around me out because I want to get to where I'm going so that I can do what I need to do so that it can be over with and then I can move on to the next thing, you know? Mhm. But Corey, when I do that, I'm not seeing people. I'm not seeing them. When Jesus was going to heal Jairus's daughter, if he had had that like tunnel vision, not caring about, not seeing the people around him, not being in tune with what's happening, she wouldn't have got her healing, you know? There's only one time that I can remember, and I know this is kind of a long story. I'm getting to the point. There's only one time that I can remember when I was in a situation with a group of people and I really saw the people around me. I was soaking in what was going on around me. And it must have been back in 2014. I had not been at the school I'm at now very long. And I got sent to Americus, to the college campus over there for a mindset training class. And mindset training is, we learn how to restrain big children, little children, so that they not only don't hurt us, but they don't hurt themselves. And, we also, in that same class, although a lot of it is the physical part of it, the restraint part of it, we also learn how to try to steer them away. Like if we have a child that, bangs their head on the floor or the wall, we learn techniques to try to steer them away from doing that, stuff like that. there was this woman in this class. It wasn't just her, it was just the group of us was in there. We were so funny and we were just cracking jokes and then, I don't know if she asked me or if I asked her, but, were you on Facebook? And of course, and we looked each other up and, we have been friends. I mean, she is one of my true sisters in Christ. She is to this very day one of the first persons I will contact if I need specific prayer about something. She will, she is so obedient. I mean, I can't tell you how many times she's sent me messages that, um, God has revealed something to her and she needed to share it with me. And it has been spot on for whatever I was going through at the time. And so I'm saying all of that to say, had I not, if I had had that tunnel vision and stayed in myself so that I'm not getting interrupted, so I can get this class done, I'd have never met her and we'd have never bonded. And I would never have like that warrior, that I truly feel like is on my side, you know? I really feel that when she prays for me, she shakes the gates of hell, Um, so I wonder what it would look like if I did that in all situations, go into the Walmart, go into the Dollar General, go into the grocery store. What would it look like if I really saw people? How many more people would I be able to talk Jesus with? Show people who Jesus was. And I really want to work on that, but I don't know how. I don't know how to do it. I don't know why I was able to do it in that circumstance, but I was super, super comfortable in that circumstance. You've been out with me. I am not super chatty and I'm not all over the place. And I mean, I stay in my box, you know? So how, and I'm asking your advice, like, how can I learn to not be that way, to really see people and be involved with what's going on around me?
I think you see that when you go out because we have been out together before. Remember the girl Amy that we met down here? It
Yeah.
was that was a pretty quick connection. What I know between her and the woman that you're speaking of is that they're both they're very strong Christians. And
Yes.
maybe it's easy for you to put your guards down when you can sense that this is also a strong Christian. So the challenge there is to reach out to people that are not the strong Christians. So when you go out and you volunteer, that gives you an opportunity to reach somebody who might be there just to get food to feed their family.
Yeah.
But if you take the time to try to connect with them, talk to them about the next time they come or where you can meet them so that y'all can have a chat, just try to grow a relationship that wasn't an instant connection to try to introduce them to the things that you learned. I mean, think
Yeah.
about how you learned it through kindness, right? People who are kind, they make you want to reach out and maybe be more like them and not
Yeah.
think that the whole world is angry and out to get you.
Yeah. But see, with Amy, it was easy because I was with you and I trust you. And I know that no matter how stupid I might get, you're not going to let me do stupid. You know what I mean? I know that. Um, so and like, when we're doing the food boxes, when I'm volunteering, even in the community, there's still some sort of safety net for me because that's in my community. So somebody there knows me. There's somebody there that if all of a sudden they don't see me, they're going to say, "Where'd she go?"
What
You
were
know?
you thinking? Don't you remember the man that you saw and you went
Yeah.
and helped him? Who was going to protect you then?
Well, I was in my car and he was outside. I didn't get out of my car.
He could have
But
got
but God told me to do that. Like if God tells me to do something, I'm gonna do it because I know that God's ordained it and I'll be safe. He's not gonna tell me to go into somewhere where I can, he's not gonna do that. Um, but I
but
mean just in the everyday, you're by yourself, going to the Walmart, going to the grocery store, going to the Home Depot. Like I want to see people. I want to be that person that is opening and inviting. And because I will shut down a conversation with a stranger if I'm by myself in a heartbeat. But how many times am I missing the opportunity to tell people, to talk to people about Jesus?
so go to Home Depot or Walmart with not the intention of buying something, but with the intention of looking at people. And don't do it in the parking lot. There's some
There's
crazy out there.
no cameras out there, right?
And there's some crazy people doing things in the parking lots, but inside the store,
That would be a good idea, especially if I had somebody like with me that I knew and we like separated when we went into the store so that I know that if I scream, my person's going to hear me. But isn't it crazy that I walk around in that mind frame all the time?
I walk around the store with my earbuds so I don't have to hear anybody else. I'm in my own world.
But I always walk around in the mindset that I have to be safe. I have to maintain my safety. And I hate that.
It's just something, it's not a bad thing, but
Not at the same time, it's not, I guess.
yeah, but just to be open to it. And maybe God has been talking to you about it, but you've been so focused on the what you have to have that your blinders and you're just so just that's what I'm saying. Go with the intent of I'm gonna look and see if there's somebody who needs me today.
Yeah.
Not who needs a
Oh,
kind
that's
word.
good. Oh, that's good. I like that because I respond to that. I respond to people needing help, needing me to do something to help them, you know?
And sometimes that's just a kind word.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, that's
Some
good.
people are gonna say, "What are you talking about? Get away from me." I mean, that might have been
And
me or
that's
you
when I'm
one
gonna
day.
hand them, that's when I hand them the little cross that you gave me here. Just this is just a reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you handle interruption? Are you one of those people that's like, oh, whatever? Or do you get mad like me?
I mean, I think it depends on the interruption because
Yeah.
sometimes you're stuck in something and you welcome that interruption, right?
Mhm.
You're like, oh, thank goodness you came over and talked to me because that person was about to drive me crazy. I couldn't get
Yeah.
away. Can't get
Yeah.
edge, couldn't get a word in. So some interruptions, like, no,
Or
mom, I'm
welcome.
calling 911.
Yeah.
That's a good interruption. Sometimes you can see, even when you're in a group of friends, you can see that one of your friends is in a position where they are trying to get away and they just can't. So again, that's a good interruption. You go and save them from whatever maybe uncomfortable situation, conversation that they're in. So there's lots of good and bad interruptions. Um, but all you can do is make the best of a bad interruption.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's real easy to say right now while nothing, there's no bad interruptions happening. So it's easy to say, but a lot of times when you look back at something that you thought was a bad interruption, it was a good, needed, necessary interruption.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I was mad because having to be sent to that class was an interruption because it takes me out of my classroom
Mhm.
for like 3 or 4 days. Okay. And my kids they don't do well with substitutes. They don't do well without their teacher.
Mhm.
Um, so I was pretty ticked that they were making me go to that class. It was needed and it's a requirement that I'm trained. The state requires that. But it still made me mad. But I am so thankful because God gave me Cheryl out of that whole thing. And she she is one of the greatest gifts that God has given me. you know, my girls, which is you all, my son, and I count her among those. She really has blessed my life. But I was mad that they were sending me to that class, but I'm happy about it now. So yeah, you're right. You do look back and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't so bad then.
Well,
Yeah.
I talked to my mom earlier today, and she was telling me about her church service, and she was like, "You should really go on and watch this one part." And the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure she goes to the traditional service, and the only one that I could find online was the more contemporary one. So I'm not 100% sure if I watched the same person speak. It's kind of a testimonial, a little bit, light testimonial. So I don't know if it was the same person at both services, but I probably needed to hear the one that I heard, even if it was different. And one of the things that she talked about, she just mentioned it actually, and I was like, oh, let me look up that verse and see what it is. So I did, and it was Isaiah 46:4. And it says, even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He. I am He who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you. I will sustain you and I will rescue you. And I'm glad I looked it up because she just kind of paraphrased it.
Uh-huh.
Um, she definitely didn't say all the words, but I looked it up. And again, it was Isaiah 46:4. And that I just read off the NIV. You know what I should do? Let me pull up my easy because I've got my iPad here with all of it. So on the easy version, it says, "Listen to me, you family of Jacob. Yes, listen to me, all you Israelites who are still alive. I have taken care of you since you first became a nation. I have carried you since you were born." Oh, wait, that was three. Oops.
Yeah.
4, I will continue to take care of you until you are old, until your hair becomes gray. I made you who you are, and I will supply everything that you need. I will carry you and I will save you.
Can I read the NLT real quick?
Yeah,
It says, I will be your God throughout your lifetime until your hair is white with age. I made you and I will care for you. I will carry you along and save you. Golly, that just like makes me feel all warm and fuzzy.
I know. I'm so glad. Like, I can't wait to talk to my mom later and say, "Hey, was it this girl who was talking?" Because I know I was watching the other service. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if she says yes or if she says no. Because if she says no, then I've got to hunt down the traditional service and see what that person said because I think I needed to hear it. I've just been going through something where I don't know, I just feel, I'm not going to say lost, but I feel like I am searching.
Hmm.
And I took that as a reminder of you go ahead and search. That's
I'm right
okay.
here.
I'm
Yeah, I
still
got
here.
you.
Yep,
Right.
from the beginning till the end
Yeah.
and then
Wow.
beyond.
Absolutely. That is,
I
that
know
just feels like,
I didn't even give you a warning. I just threw that out there at
I
you.
know, but it just makes me feel like God's putting his arms around us and kind of giving us a hug, you
Yeah.
know? That's what that verse makes me feel like.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I have an Isaiah tattoo on my forearm. I might get that one on my other forearm.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That is. I love that.
Okay, so
Um,
you told me that you started reading that book, the mostly what God does book.
yeah, I did.
Give me just a little thought on what I said about it and I mean, you've read further than me because I'm not a big reader, but what do you think?
I love her writing style. It sounds just like me and you sitting here talking.
Yeah,
There's nothing fancy about it. There is nothing frou-frou, but and I also love that she's not giving us details about the things that she's went through.
yeah,
I feel and I'm bad about this, but I'm a teacher and I want to explain everything in detail. Um, but when I do that, I often feel like I'm glorifying what happened, instead of glorifying what God did in that moment. I'm focusing on too much on the detail of what happened versus what God did with it, right? And she does not do that. This bad thing happened and she moves on, you know. Um and I loved that. I loved that we didn't get that in, I think it's chapter 3 that she delved into that. And this thing happened and it was terrible and it was bad, but I'm not dwelling, and this is what God did with all that. And I just thought, how wonderful not getting sucked in to the what happened, so that it's not to overshadow God getting the glory in the what happened. I thought that that was wonderful. And it was a very bad, painful divorce. Um, but I love, love, love her writing style. I really do. Um, she even talks about, what chapter is it? Chapter 2. She goes on a rant about pharmaceutical companies doing commercials for drugs.
All right, that's
And
gonna
you and
encourage me
I
to
have
read
had
chapter
that
two.
conversation. We have all had that conversation so many times. Like, we can't go and buy these things for ourselves. Like, why are you advertising to the general public when a doctor has to prescribe that? I can't go to my doctor and be like, oh, hey, can I get that medicine? Come on now. Come on. That's advertise to doctors. Take that stuff off our televisions. But it was so cool that she did that.
And again, that book is Mostly What God Does by Savannah Guthrie. And all right, I'm gonna pull it back out and read some more.
Okay, well, I'm gonna show the cover while you're doing that.
No, no,
This
no. I mean, I'm gonna pull it back out later today, or maybe in the
Oh,
morning.
okay.
Maybe in the morning and start reading it again.
Okay.
I had some busy time with getting the house ready for people and then, you know, entertaining while they were here.
Yes, I understand.
Now I have to get back into my book.
So another thing that I wrote this one down in my little notebook here. It kind of came behind, the whole interruption things, like how do we deal with things? And when I think about that now, Corey, I always think about what you said those several series ago, that God sees the whole person. All we see is the act. I think it was when we were doing forgiveness and forgiven. We only see the act. We only see what they did. God sees the whole person. And, how do you deal with, just stuff? I mean, death is a part of life. We have to deal with it. All of us have to deal with it at some point. And that's such a straight line for us. We're born and we have this life, and there might be some hiccups, some hills, some turns every now and then, but for the most part, we're born and it's a straight line until we die, right? Because all we can see is what's right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So we deal in the right now, in the what we can see. God deals in eternity. And you and I have talked about this before, that this life should be living for eternity. That's what we're living for, is eternity. And God deals in eternity. And so God deals in a circle because he sees all the way around, every situation, every person, the whole 9 yards. And that Isaiah verse, the 46:4, in my notebook, I said, I see this as his arms wrapped around our situation. And that verse just has really shook me, because it's just so, we are stubborn people. God can close the door and ding dang if we won't go right back and open it. We are so stubborn. He closed it for a reason.
Right.
No, just let me stick my foot back through there just one more time, just to make sure, you know. But here he's always with his arms right around us.
Yeah.
Well, we have to deal with the consequences, but he doesn't run away from us. And that just gives me so much comfort.
Well, I'm glad that it all tied together.
Yeah.
What you wanted to say and what my mom told me to watch.
But that's just how God works,
Right.
because I prayed before we started and I was like, God, just lead us where you want us to go. Just whatever you want us to talk about. Because this is his, it's not ours. So, just lead us where you want us to go. And he's so good to us, Corey.
You just have to be open to it.
Yeah,
Just like when you go and meet those strangers. Or it might not be a stranger, it might be somebody that you already know. And they need somebody to remind them that God's still here.
Yes, I have had people text me and be like, "Why did you ignore me in the grocery store?" And I'm like, I didn't see you. I hollered your name and I was waving at you, and I'm like, I didn't hear you and I didn't see you. I'm sorry." But that is how bad it is. That is how bad I tune out. And I'm going in to get what I'm getting. I don't go in and shop. I don't like shopping. I I will shop at a thrift store and that's about it. But I go in to get what I got to get and I get out. Um, and I don't want to be that way anymore. So I've got to start retraining because I don't even realize that I'm doing it. I don't even realize it until someone points it out. So I got to train myself to not do that. And I'm pretty stubborn. So
Well, we'll try to do something when you're here. Maybe I'll take you into the Christian store in town so you can feel a little bit of comfort and you can just pick out somebody to talk to.
is that one store that we went into that other time? What did I get there? I got something.
There's more than one,
Okay.
so I'm not sure. You know where we're going to go? There's a whole bookstore of used books. We're going to go there.
I love books. I like books. Oh yeah, we went to that one, but they were closed.
Yes.
And then we went to the other one where they had all the little jewelries and trinkets and stuff.
Yeah, and
Got
there's lots
something
of
in them.
boutiques since it's a vacation destination.
Yeah.
Lots
Yeah.
of boutiques, and we'll just spend a day checking out every one of them.
Yeah. Can't remember what I bought there. Do you remember?
No.
I don't either. Oh, it was the earrings. It was earrings.
Uh,
Yeah, I remember. Anyway, so, oh, you know how I heard this? These are not my words. This wasn't a statement that there were several different women talking on this podcast I was watching, and not one person said this, but I kind of put together what everybody was saying. Um, that how people always say that love is not, it is an emotion, but it's an action word. Like you have to, it is something that you feel, but it takes work. It's not just you feel it and then you don't have to do anything, you know? And they were talking about faith is the same way. We are saved by grace through faith. Faith without works is dead. So faith is an action. Your faith, if you have the faith, you've got to put your faith into action. And so I've got to have faith that God is going to protect me in those grocery stores, in the Walmarts, in the wherever I am, so that I can truly see people and smile at people again. You know, like just interact with humans just out in the public again, you know?
well, you know what? It's really easy to smile at a child. Don't you think so? Like when you're walking through, if you see a little kid, it's so easy to smile at them.
Yeah.
So you just have to do the same thing with the adults. And sometimes I will do that and they kind of look at me like I'm weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll say hello or excuse me if I'm walking by and I feel like maybe they're in my way, but you know,
Yeah.
still say it. So it's just little things, but I've met some people that I wouldn't have met otherwise you know, if I wouldn't have just noticed them. Um, so yeah, you gotta, I also am thinking, you know, you're talking about faith, but also going back to the love side of that, if you're just going through which is very easy to do when your kids are young, right? You're just trying to get from A to Z,
Yeah.
you know, just get through that day. Um, and I learned this through my own marriage that there are times that you just have to make that time for your partner. You just have to make sure that you acknowledge that you respect, you love, you appreciate so that you can keep going through those days of A to Z, A to Z, A to Z.
Yeah.
But you're just acknowledging this is hard some days and we're still here fighting for it, trying to be a part of each other's lives as well as our kids' lives. It's very easy to work through your life.
Yeah.
And my almost 51-year-old self is saying, take the time. I mean, I was never real big on keeping the house perfect. I always had a clean house.
Right.
But my friends who kept their house perfect, they were much more tired. I can tell you that.
Yeah. And they had a lot more anxiety, I think, too.
I mean, I had anxiety about everything not being perfect, but I chose to let that go because you got to let something go,
Right. You gotta
right?
let something go. That's right. Yeah. But, to me, my house is clean, but it's lived in. Like right now, I've got two loads of towels piled on my dining room table because that's what my dining room table's for. It's not for eating. We don't sit at the table and eat. It holds laundry until I can get to it and get it folded and get it put away. But I have a beautiful dining room table. We just last week, matter of fact, I was babysitting a 3-year-old. Have I told you this yet? And I was making her lunch and I was just gonna bring her in here, sit her in front of in the living room, just like we always do. And she was like, "No, I want to eat at the table." And I'm like, "That's weird." And she looked at me and she said, "You're weird." I'm like,
Yes, three-year-olds really should eat at the table. They're way too messy for a living room.
I mean, all it was a sandwich, a half a sandwich and a bag of chips. But we were watching a movie. I think we were watching Garfield, if I'm not mistaken, which I am so out of the loop on all the kids' movies. And but yeah, she wanted me to come sit in there with her at the table. And I was like, "That's weird." And she said, "You're weird." It was so funny coming from a 3-year-old.
So honest.
But this is very honest, very honest. And she was chasing the cat, the little kitten, and he ran up under the thing that I have the TV in the living room sitting on. And, there's a bunch of plugs and stuff back there. And she goes up under there to try to get the kitten. And I said, "Emmy, get out from under there." And when I did, she looked up and she bumped her head. And so she starts kind of whining a little bit. And I was like, "Oh, come here, let me see." And she says, "No, I just want to lay down a minute." I said, "But come here, let me love you." And she's like, "No, I just want to lay down." I forgot what having a little kid around was like. I was exhausted by the time she left.
Had a good night's sleep.
I did, because I have not talked that much in I don't know how long. She didn't hush the entire time she was here, except when she slept. It was fun. It was great fun. I'd do it again.
Watch out. You might have her back next week.
I know. Hope her mama don't watch this.
Oh wait, you're coming here next week at some point.
Oh
So
yeah, that's right. The 13th, right? Is that what
yeah.
we said? Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a Sunday. So it'll probably
Yeah.
be late
So yeah, we'll
afternoon.
record. Yeah. So we'll record next week together.
Yeah. So
All right.
it'll probably be I mean, we'll go over the details later. They don't want to hear about all of our details.
Yep.
But yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this one up and let our people go.
Yeah, and you'll look up the Isaiah 46:4 and read it in your Bible. That was a good one. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, we can thank my mama. Or maybe not.
Thank you, Miss Kathy.
All right.
Okay.
Well, everybody knows what to do, and we will have it all at the end of the video. But just in case you don't have it on video, we are on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Most of those are Two Girls in Jesus. Facebook also has just Two Girls in Jesus. Instagram, forgot about that one. Threads. No, are we on Threads? I don't think we have Threads
Yes,
yet.
we are Threads. We're
Okay,
on
we have
Threads on the TikTok. It's not Twitter, it's X, right?
Oh, yeah, whatever. You're
And
right.
there's another one.
Formerly
There
known as
is,
Twitter.
yeah, there's the Lemonade.
Lemonade. Is it lemonade? And yeah, lemonade.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
that
like,
about covers it.
subscribe, do all the stuff. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.